Carvin V3. We're going to show you how to bias it with bias probe, and then we're going to show you how to use the measure across the standby switch, commonly known as the Carvin method. You can see that we got bias probes underneath a couple of tubes right here. We'll measure that off, show you how to adjust it with a trim pot, and then we'll go in and take a look at the standby switch, show you how to hook that up. So down inside, and I'm going to point to it with a little plastic screwdriver right here, is a blue trim pot, and that's what we're going to access to adjust the bias. And now we'll go ahead and take a look at the meters over on the bias probes. And when we flip the amp into the run mode, because it's in standby right now, we let it heat up for a couple minutes, you'll see power come on and the bias come up. And there it is. Oh, we're a little bit over 30 from my view over here. So I'm going to trim that up to about 37, 38. These amps run about 460, 465 plate volts. Oh, that was down, so let's trim it up. There we go. Just takes a little bit, kind of sensitive, doesn't take too much. That's looking pretty good from my angle, 37, 38. And that's it. That's how you bias a thing. So we're going to come back over here now, and we're going to show you the standby switch. I'll rotate the amp around just a little bit here, get a little bit better shot at it. And the second switch over here, which I'm pointing at right now, are the two leads that come off the standby switch and over to the main board. Supply power for them. So when Carvin says to measure it off the standby switch, what they mean is to put the amp back in the standby mode. And now we're going to take a regular milliamp meter, or amp meter, and connect it to these two leads. And when we short across these leads, it'll turn the amplifier on and give us a total reading of all the tubes across the standby switch. Okay, so I've gone ahead and hooked up our positive lead here to one of the wires that comes off to the main board from the standby switch. And I'll point at it right in here. This is just kind of because it's easier to hook up over here at the board than it is to get a clip in here on that lower wire on the standby switch. So what I'm going to be doing is shorting the negative lead here over to this standby switch pole right there. And we'll go over to the meters now, and we'll show you what happens when we do this. Alright, so I'm going to touch this switch off, and we'll see that meter jump up. And there we go. We've been in standby, so the bias is measuring just a touch higher. It'll come down in just a second. There we go. So we're measuring on our multimeter here 0.18. That's 180 milliamps across all of the tubes across the standby switch. That's the current draw. And the amp came on because we're shorting the standby switch across with the meter. Meter is taking place of the standby switch. And now if you want to come back over to the standby switch, I'll show you what happens when you do this. You'll see a little bit of a spark when you go across this thing. That's totally normal. Don't be afraid of it. Touch it off, and you'll hear the amp come on, and then your meter will read the bias for you. And that's it. You adjust the bias anywhere between 150 up to about 180 or even 190. 150 will give you about 32, 33 milliamps. 190 will give you about 40 milliamps. That's on the warm side, still acceptable. Anything over above about 150 is going to get you out of crossover distortion. Sound real good. That's it.